Away you go, Luke.
Yep. Okay. Welcome everyone. So what I'm going to go through is it'll be quite a brief training session on checking an order, so that you know with the new ACC process what you will see in the updated system and its statuses, so that you know if you get inquiries where the order is at this time. Okay, what I'm going to go through first is the business process flow of the end-to-end process and how it works. Please ask as we go through if you've got any questions. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. So there's a need for a client to receive some equipment or be supplied some equipment for their rehabilitation. It goes to the assessor. The assessor will go there and agree what equipment's needed, and then the requester, who that may be the assessor or another person, will create an order that contains the equipment line items that is required for the client. The change now on there is the requester cannot select any item for non-list items under 1,000 or over 1,000. They will only have the option to select an item number that says as quote. So that means that when the order is put in and it goes to the CSF team, that when they review the order, they will add the items to that order to ensure that the overall order has all the correct items on that prior to any decisions being made in the overall process. So basically that is clean data up front, so there's no hold-ups once it goes through. Once the CSF has completed their review of the order, they have to make decisions against items that require decisions. So any item that is simple or higher does not go through the ACC approval process. Okay, it can be that there's some standard, complex, and under 1,000 items require, and those items will be tagged to say that they need a review, or that the item is over 15,000 in dollar value. So there are some decisions that are made automatically by the system rather than the person who's doing the check. So once the CSF have a look at each item, they will assess each item. If they support it, they will mark the item as such, and then it will go for a missing detail check, which it will look for whether the correct item is selected if it's marked as quote and that's been updated, and for the supplier and price. If everything is okay, then it will go on to the next stage. If it needs anything added to the line that needs a procurement review. So prior to this step, the CSF can add suppliers and price to the line item without it going to procurement, should they know it. But if it needs to go to procurement, it will do the same route as what it does at the moment. It will go to for procurement review. Procurement will perform their review, and then it goes post-procurement, and I'll show you the queues in a minute. And then it will go back for a check, or it go to post-procurement, which then the CSF will perform a post-procurement check. Once they've checked it, it will go down the loop, so that if there is anything missing, it will go back through. If there's not, it'll go on to the next stage. So the next stage is dependent on the system or the decision outcome. So if they support it, it will go through that route. If they don't support it, the options they have is either for us to push it to assessor for review, or to push it to ACC consideration. And then the system or the manual intervention will push it to, is there an advisor required? Is there advisor review required? If there is, it will go down the for advisor route. If it isn't, it will go on to the next stage, which will ask the question, is an ACC review required? If the assessor review is required, they will do their review, dependent on the CSF's outcome. So at this point here, if a item requires a review at the next stage, then the whole order will go to that stage. It's not just the individual item. So although the individual items are being assessed, the order will always go stage by stage, but the items will require an individual review. And that will change all the line item statuses to the next stage that's required. So if one item requires for the next stage review, all line items will change for advisor review, until that item is either dispatched or purchase order or declined if it comes round for a next if there's anything added to the order, i.e. if it's trial lines, etc. But we'll see that in a minute. Okay, so then the advisor will make their decision if they need to. If they support, it's exactly the same as if the CSF supports. It will go to a missing check review. That will only do this check if previously the CSF didn't support it. So if the CSF supports it, will do the procurement check there, so that when the advisor supports it, this won't be required. The system knows that, and it will push it to no and go to the next stage. But if the item isn't supported, there's not that need. If they support it, it will go. So the whole reason behind that, and that's exactly the same at the ACC decision stage as well, is we don't want to be adding items if we don't think we need them. So if the CSF doesn't support and the advisor doesn't support, then no item will be added until it gets to ACC's decision. And if ACC decline it, then the item isn't added to the catalogue, so it doesn't. So there's like, it's unnecessary to add items, so it's just waste of time putting them in there. So it's not required. So coming back to this, so if they support it, we'll go on to the next stage, and then if the advisor outcome is not support, they will have the options here of unsupport, ACC consideration. There is an option for ACC pre-trial, but the decision's been made that we won't be using that. That's just a business process decision by the advisors. Once the order goes on to the next stage, the system will decide whether it does. So if something is manually pushed through, it will need an ACC. If it doesn't need it and it's not tagged, or the system looks and it doesn't require it, then it'll go no, and then go on to the stock check. If it does require a review by ACC, then it goes off. ACC will automatically receive an email saying that a review is required, and that depends on who is put in the ACC staff field of the order. So once the correct person receives that email, they will click on the link, and that will push them to the order review screen. And then on each review, they will need to make the decision outcome, and theirs is either approve or decline. If they decline it, then obviously the client, it doesn't receive the item. If they approve it, then it will go through the missing detail check. And as I said, that depends on previous steps. So if it needs it or not, and it will go through that same procurement check. If everything is good, then it comes down for a stock check. If there's stuff in stock, then obviously it gets a dispatch order created. And if there isn't any stock, then it'll go to purchase order, and the supplier will receive a purchase order. And we come right up to the top here. And the next question is this a trial order? So if it's not, then it will just go straight through. If it is a trial order, then the question is asked, is there an outcome decision to be made? So if it's initial trial, then no, it will go straight out for dispatch. And if it requires, if there is an outcome required for the trial, then there's no real change here. It's the same process as what's carried out at the moment. Obviously, if it's unsuccessful, the assessor can decide whether a new trial item is required. Am I back online?
Yes, you are. I was just going to say hello.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. It just went on hold temporarily. Yep, so if it's a trial item, they can add a new item in there, and it will go back through, right the way back to the beginning, to the CSF for review. However, if a trial item is added, then if a new item is added and the trial has already been approved, the CSF does the initial review, and it will then bypass all the other reviews and go straight to the stock check. And then obviously there's checks post-trial if it's successful, and it will go through for the CSF to perform a check if the post-trial check, if it's successful, and that's just to check the quotes, etc., that they do now. So that is the end-to-end process. Any questions? No? Okay. All good. What I'll do now is let's go back to the training material. I'll show you this quick. I'll leave this up to you guys to read this to get a bit better understanding, but it's quite simple. The fact that majority of the stuff is exactly the same as the system is now. The only difference is you're going to see some additional boxes and some additional statuses. So the additional statuses that you'll see on the line item, which I'll show the screen in a minute, is going to be for CSF review, for advisor review, and for ACC review. The others are the same as what the system is at the moment. And then in the order, if you want to check in the order, then there's new boxes in there which will show the CSF, the CSA, and the ACC review statuses and what they've put in the boxes to the outcomes and decisions that they've made. So you will see the decisions made will be supported or unsupported, or for ACC consideration, and for advisor review, or approved or declined. What you now have in the order, and what I'll do, because this is just basic, I will actually get up the system so that you can see it. So when you log in, this is what the system will look like. There's loads of tiles at the top. So I've logged in as a store person. But if you log in as a, for those in the contact center, when you log in, you see the same view as this. So if you go to the dashboard view, these tiles show you what's in the queues. So basically these are filtered queues. So if you want to see what's in there for advisor, if you click on that, then it will just show. Oh, no, you won't be able to see that because you're not. So CSF people may be able to see the queues, stores won't, because you haven't got that access. However, from this screen, you can see the statuses on there. So if where's my scroll across bar gone? That's handy. Let me just put that column. So here's all the, so you can see on the statuses. Let me do that the other way around. You can see, so you'll have for CSF review for advisor review, dispatches, purchase orders, etc. So you know where it's being held up at the moment. And if we go into a completed order, on system, then on the items, you will see all the decision boxes here. So you've got the CSF review, rationale, and narrative. So if it's supported, a rationale isn't required or a narrative isn't required. If it's not supported, so in this case of the CSF, if it's pushed to the advisor or pushed to ACC, they will need to select a narrative, a rationale, and then enter a narrative. This is a free text field, so they have 255 characters in there to do a brief description. And then that's exactly the same for the advisor and the same for ACC. So you can see what the decisions have been made. When you come across here, you will see exceptions. This is how we're doing the tagging process so that we know what needs to go where. So if an item is tagged, you will see tags in there. That actually means that when they're tagged, they will push through to ACC for review. So only items that require a review are already tagged in the inventory. So, and then if they're over 15,000, they're tagged, and it doesn't need a tag here if it's over 15,000, because that's part of the process that ACC have required for the exceptions, and that will be pushed through as well. During the review, if the CSF or advisor thinks that a item should fall in one of those exception criteria, they can in this field actually add in the tags manually, so that we'll go through, and if they feel that is a definite need, then they will contact procurement and ask them to update the catalogue item. Any questions on that bit? Oh, all good. Go to the inventory. Oh no, we don't want that. We want to. No, I have to log in as a procurement person. It's the second procurement. Basically, how this works is there is a new field for a new screen for procurement here, and they can create tags if more required. These are the current ones that ACC have required and requested, and they're marked as such that they need a review. If we go into the item, if they then say we don't need this to review this type of item anymore that's been tagged, then procurement can switch it to no, and those items will no longer go to ACC for review. In the catalogue, so if we go to an item, when the whole catalogue has been reviewed and will be updated in production as part of the go live process, so all items that need to be tagged will be tagged, and when new items are created, they come to here, and then they can add in the tags that are required. Multiple tags can be added as well, so if you do see that, that's not an error. It's just that they could fit two different types of requirements for the exception criteria. Any questions? No, because that is basically it. Nothing from anyone. Okay.
We'll have heaps of questions on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Lee, rather than today.
In short, so that's a good point, Craig. So I am the system man. So if any questions, give us a shout. for the decision processes or anything that needs to make that, then that will be the equipment team. Yeah, I will be on site with the equipment team in Palmy all week to help out there. So if anything arises, I'm there on hand. Who's online? Christine, are you online? I don't know if you've got anything to add.
No, it looks fine. I think actually, Craig, when Lee, when you looked at the dashboard, when you were the store person, there was a filter on the client name, so that's why you couldn't see the orders.
Oh, right, okay.
Yep. So they should be able to see those.
Yeah.
But yep, no.
Yeah.
Bring on Monday.
And as Lee said, all these documents will be on Pulse, so you'll be able to, some of them are already there, but we're still updating them over the next couple of days.
Yeah. So once I know that they're all updated and they're all online, I'll send you out the link to the hub and say that we're good to go, so you've got them for reference.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Awesome. Thanks, Lee. Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
everyone.
Lee. Bye, guys. Bye.